Manipulated Mind, number 14. Let's begin. Therapists who could show hostility encouraged similar shows from their patients. The patients who took their cues from their therapist's responses. Wow, I'm already starting off batting 2. Maybe 2's good. Anyway, therapists who could show as hostility encouraged the similar shows from their patients. The patients took their cues from their therapist's responses. Where hostility received disapproval of some kind, the patient used it far less, and where it was approved, it occurred far more. An even more indicative study by Murray concerned therapists who specialized in non-directive therapy, as devised by Carl Rogers. The aim here is for the therapist to convey nothing of his own views and reactions to what his client is saying, but to provide simply a supportive audience for what the client wishes to express. Rogers' theory was that too many of our emotional reactions and behavioral traits are the result of conditioning in our childhood, that it is right to express and only do certain things. We adopt these expressions and actions that bring us the reward of love and attention from parents and suppress the rest. The positive regard in which we are held is therefore conditional on our right actions. We're going to have a note here, and it's probably going to be completely different than the note I have in here previous. The non-directive therapist's role was to provide unconditional positive regard, to exude warmth and caring for the client, whatever he said or did. Alright, check me out on this. The old note from 2019 says, love bombing? Question mark. I wonder if there's any truth in that, because you're trying to present a comfortable environment for your patient to just let it out. So, are you faking any kind of acceptance? Are you using a tactic? Doesn't matter. And suppress the rest. Attention from the parents and suppress the rest. So, it says Rogers' theory is that too many of our emotional reactions and behavioral traits are the result of conditioning in our childhood about what is right to say or to do. Just think how many things are taboo to even say. Like my whole internet, my whole channel is things you're not allowed to think. It doesn't matter because nobody thinks them, right? No bullshit. Everybody thinks. Nobody gets to express what they think. And why? Rogers probably has a good theory. Rogers' theory is the basis of all the things. Okay. I guess that's it. But see, and one of the reasons why we have such a hard time facing ourselves and healing could be because we don't even know what or why. Why are we not allowed to think this? Why do we have to think this way? Etc., etc. Murray's experiment showed that it didn't work quite as easily as that. Sessions with patients were recorded, and it was found afterwards that the experiments could accurately predict exactly what the therapist approved and disapproved of, on the basis of the responses he made to information provided or feelings expressed by his client. His own attitudes were coming across loud and clear despite his own belief that he had suspended all judgment. The clients were also shown to be affected by the shows of approval or disapproval. They learned, over their series of sessions with their therapists, to offer up less and less disapproval of material. More will be said on this subject in Chapter 9. Frank warns against distorting the import of all of these experiments, while suggesting that a technique's influence on while suggesting that a technique of influence of which the person is unaware may be especially effective because he has no incentive to mobilize his resistance against it. He also sees as a limit on its effectiveness the fact that the reported findings apply to only what the patient says. The extent to which this corresponds with how he actually feels remains unknown. As with thought reform, it's important to keep in mind the distinction between compliance and internalization. Operant conditioning clearly produces some degree of compliance, but that is as far as one can safely go at present. It could be added, or should be added, however, that one's attitudes are probably, author's italics, affected by one's word. Psychological findings described in Chapter 6 will show that indeed they are. So, operant conditioning clearly produces some degree of compliance, but that's about all we can say about it. But one's attitudes are probably affected by one's word. Okay, so like you give your word, you might still have a problem with that later. Okay, but psychological findings described in Chapter 6 will show that indeed they are what? They are, attitudes are affected by words, or they are, well, they can't say about that, so it's definitely, okay. Sorry, having a blind moment. Perry London believes that the power of conditioning techniques as a form of control should not be underestimated. Both classical and operant conditioning have distinct parts to play. Classical conditioning can effectively control involuntary behavioral events, such as emotions, moods, sensations, and functionings of muscles and blood vessels and vital organs. Instrumental or operative conditioning by systematic application can be used to control voluntary behavior. Both methods, he says, can independently influence various aspects of thinking and attitudes. They can also be combined, along with drugs, surgery, or electronic machinery, to make it possible to teach almost any attitude, such as authoritarianism, any skill, or any emotional disposition. He believes that while conditioning techniques have not yet achieved such a possibility, the potential for doing so is more evident than are any limitations on it.
I am an epsilon. I am happy being an epsilon. I wouldn't even want to be a alpha.
He gives an impressive list of the achievements to date of experimental conditioning techniques.
A large body of scientific literature shows plainly that conditioning methods can be used to control several types of voluntary and involuntary activity affecting thinking, language, imagination, emotion, motivation, habits, and skills. People can be conditioned to blush or otherwise react emotionally to meaningless words and phrases, to respond impassively to outrageous epithets, to to hallucinate to signals, to feel fear, revulsion, embarrassment, or arousal upon demand. Yeah, what? Did you use the electric shocks? Sometimes, my friend, sometimes. To feel cold when they're being warmed. To warm when being chilled. Don't say the inside part out loud. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting sweaty in here.
what we're talking about? Your Nobel Prize, sir?
Oh, yes. To become ill when lights are flashed, to narrow or enlarge their blood vessels or the pupils of their eyes, to feel like urinating with an empty bladder, or not feel the need with a full one, to establish habits and mannerisms they had never known before, and to break free forever from lifelong patterns of activities they thought could never be forgotten.
Psychology. Yay. Wow. Who said that? He believes that while conditioning techniques have not yet achieved such a possibility, the potential is there, man. Just believe in the potential. The potential to what? The potential to make you want to pee when you don't have to. That's real important scientific, psychological research. Oh, you got to... I mean, really. It's not just because I'm insane, right? Really? Okay. He describes some of these experiments and links. He describes some of the experiments and links the effects they produced to some similar effects found in ordinary life, without the assistance of laboratory procedures. For instance, involuntarily, body processes could be successfully conditioned to such a degree that people who were trained to react physiologically in one way to a series of blue lights, and in another way, physiologically, to a series of red lights shown in a certain order, were actually physically sick and developed severe headaches when shown the lights in a jumbled order. London says. Is London the guy from before? Yes, it is.
The natural equivalents of these laboratory demonstrations are seen in psychosomatic illnesses, and in even more common changes in bodily functions, ranging from diarrhea to yawning, which are connected with a great variety of verbal and other informational stimulation. The electric shots? Yes. That's not in the notes, man. There is every reason to believe that the basic procedures involved are applicable to virtually every organ in the body, and any expression of mood and emotion, with all the therapeutic possibilities that implies.
I am teaching a class on psychology here. But not all the effects of such conditioning can be therapeutic. London goes on.
The techniques of breaking down established meanings, whether in propaganda campaigns or in eliciting confessions, are fundamentally the same as those described in the experiment, where the subjects became ill. The rapid alternation of individually meaningless, I'm sorry, man, do you need a drink? Yeah, sure, let me, I was just waiting for the day when the Nobel Peace Prize people will come to my door and ask me about my theories. Just psychology. Yay! Back to it. Right.
Oh, excuse me. Have you guys been psychologically influenced by my use of words? Anyway, should I do this serious or should I get back to character? I'm trying to teach here.
Okay, ready? Okay, alright. Wow. Alright, this is so exciting. This is groundbreaking, guys. Alright. So, the experiment where the subjects became ill, the rapid alternation of individually meaningful signals makes it increasingly hard to respond meaningfully. In propaganda, for example, the Nazis argued that the Jews were capitalists, communists, Democrats, and tyrants, racist and mongrel, all at once, until the confusion of messages broke down the meanings of all these terms, leaving only one emotion-laden idea. Those people are bad, okay? And where the intent is to break down more profound meanings, as is necessary to get sincere false confessions, rapid, meaningless stimulation is supplemented by anxiety and exhaustion until the victim, ready to forego life itself for surcease of fear and for not rest of sleep, takes leave, last of all, the last semblance of will. Then the electric shocks. Scientific psychological research to the betterment of humanity. Yes. Sorry. If the method works, he has now become highly suggestible, and the new ideas can be implanted. You can put anything in there. He's a clean slate. Psychology. Yay! I'm gonna try to finish out this chapter straight. Thank you very much. I don't like London. That people could be conditioned to hallucinate to a signal emerged from an experiment instigated by Asake Nuros of University of Kyoto. It combined classical conditioning with hypnosis to produce a weird and wonderful sensory phenomenon called conditioned hallucination. A hypnotized subject was required to watch a blank screen. At a certain point, the experimenter sounded a bell or flashed a light and then projected at a low illumination an image on the screen. The image remained there only an instant. This was repeated. The subject was then given a sheet of paper and asked to draw several times the image he had seen. The experimenter then told him that he would forget the whole experiment and brought him out of the hypnosis. In his normal state, the subject was asked to watch the screen again. When the bell sounded or the light was flashed, nothing was projected on the screen this time, but the subject, when asked to draw what he had seen, faithfully reproduced the previous image. London also draws attention to the part that people's active participation can play in their own conditioning. You know, like with pedophiles wanting the electrical shock to help fix themselves. I knew you were going to bring it. I knew it. Straight reading. One Russian experimenter, M.I. Lizina, could not get her subjects to constrict and dilate their blood vessels via the conditioning medium of electric shocks until she actually allowed her subjects to see their own vascular responses as they were being recorded. Then, understanding what the experimenter wanted, they were conditioned very quickly. While the scientific debate will no doubt continue as to how far conditioning techniques can effectively and lastingly change behavior, it can be seen that taken in conjunction with certain elements of personality, which can lead people, albeit unwittingly, to aid the conditioning process. Conditioning
is a formidable force indeed. Whether consciously applied, as in interrogation techniques, or unconsciously fashioned, and absorbed from all that impinges daily upon our senses. It has the power to change behavior, frame personalities, and limit expectations. It can more easily be bred than broken. Well, we have ended chapter 4. We are moving up in the world. Dang, that was some of my best work, and I really hope that some viewers get attracted to it. That would be awesome. Anyway, thank you very much. Like and subscribe. You'll never know what I'm going to do next.